On 17th of April 2021 at 4:16 a.m. in the morning, my long-standing old riding mate Paul Erasmus and myself headed off on the start of the Joburg to Blouberg 1,000-mile challenge from the Joburg end. The Riviera Resort was the starting point at Three Rivers on the Vaal River, and shortly afterwards across the Vaal River and into the good old Free State. The idea of the route has been to maximize gravel riding, get the route away from all the traffic, and I think it was a really great decision to make it as much of a gravel grind as possible. The traffic already at that early hour of the morning was starting to get a bit busy when we neared Sasolburg, only 20-something kilometers later, and it was a really welcome turn when we hooked a right to Volverhoek and got onto the gravel road that cruised along the railway line in the direction of Koppies, and then on to Edenville, Stainsrus and Winburg. The gravel roads on the first day, relatively good, but they do slow you down. The old 1,000, compared to the 1,000-mile race, which was, we used to hot foot straight along the tar to Koppies, to Kroonstad and Pietersstein, and you had almost no gravel whatsoever to Winburg. You could have your feet up at Winburg by about 4:30 in the afternoon, eating nice steak and chips with pepper sauce at the guest house. Not the case this time. We only rolled into Winburg at about 7 o'clock. Conditions were good. The breeze was behind us, so we don't have any real reasons to have been slow, other than the gravel just slows you down. That it is what it is. So that part of the route, and the second day to Trompsburg and on to Colesberg, all going gravel routes, significantly slower than the previous almost non-stop tar road route all the way to Colesberg in the 1,000-mile race. The very quiet roads, not many buckies to speak of. We decided when we got to Winburg that we were really going to enjoy ourselves a bit. We weren't going to break ourselves by riding halfway into the night. We thought we'd sleep well at night, get up at a reasonable hour and carry on the next morning, have a bit of fun, but have some long days during daylight hours during the saddle. And that's pretty much what we did. The start of the race from the Joburg end is sort of the sad part in a way. The route does take you through some rather dysfunctional towns in the Free State. To Edenville and Stainsrus, you can see the decay. Sadly, the towns have gone backward. The councils are by and large dysfunctional. It doesn't take much to see that the infrastructure is poor, the poverty levels are high, it's visible, and at some points you can smell the raw sewage, and there's a lot of litter around as well. But those are the towns. As you go on, the towns get better towards, as you go through into the Karoo and into the Northern Cape. And you have to bear with it. It's only the towns. When you're out of the towns, the Free State's a lovely place to be, and the Karoo even lovelier in my view. That's part of what's nice about riding here is that you're not riding through large built-up areas by and large, apart from a tour through the middle of Bloemfontein on the second day. So on we went, and second night Trompsburg, third night Hanover, then a lovely hotel stop, a beautiful old hotel in Victoria West. You can start to see a tourism industry has emerged in Victoria West. There's significant activity in the town. It looks a lot better. And then on to Fraserburg for a night stop, Sutherland and Wolseley, and then on to Blouberg, 7 days, 8 hours, and 39 minutes later, to be exactly, to her jumping up and down, Ingrid with her video camera the event and prove that it actually happened. And it was a lovely, beautiful sunny winter's day on our arrival in Cape Town. The last day being really fun, really fast. You forget about all the pains in your butt and everything else. And it was a superb ride all in all. Now, some of the things you notice on the ride, you forget about this, but it all came back to us while we were riding, is the economy picks up as you go along. As I've said, there's the first few Free State towns are in a very poor shape and not much going for them other than servicing the farming community. Food is limited. not many of the brands like Spa, and not much catering to speak of. So you eat whatever goes down your throat. You can't have a fancy diet. And as you go west, not only does the coffee get better, and eventually you get to filter coffee, and then you get to cappuccinos as you get nearer to the Western Cape. The service gets better, the catering gets better. Eventually you're sitting in a restaurant having a nice steak, and life gets all the more enjoyable when you're not on your bike. So that's the one thing you notice as you come from the Johannesburg end. The gravel roads, as I say, a good move, I think, to put the ride on gravel roads. Really enjoyed that part. The gravel roads were by and large in good condition, apart from some parts of the Great Karoo just past Sutherland. The approach to Blouberg Pass, very rutted. Blouberg Pass itself is in a pretty poor shape. You have to go rather slow down there. Massive pass, one of the biggest ascents or descents down the Great Escarpment to lower levels just past Sutherland, but in poor shape. And for some time through the Tankwa Pass there to the Tankwa Patstal, also rather rutted. But by and large, apart from that, the roads are in relatively good shape. And the April conditions were probably one of the best times of the year as well. Previously, when we did the 1,000-mile race, we were in the middle of winter. June was a lot colder. You had your tight leggings on. You had more layers on. By and large, well, we didn't have tight leggings with us. We were in short cycle pants. Did have a beanie, base layer and windbreaker. Normally did the job. In the early morning, if we started one or two mornings, we did start earlier than 6 o'clock. So we didn't have to carry as much clothing with us. We were lucky with the weather. There's still a bit of rain around. We got a bit of rain just past Hanover on the one day, but nothing too serious. But a few days, not long after we finished, rain descended over Gauteng and much of the country. So we were lucky. There can still be a bit of rain at this time of year, clearly, but it was okay. The logistics, yeah, we didn't bother too much about that. We took our chances, waking up, on quite a few of the days, starting only at about 6 o'clock in the morning. And then you start arriving at your target destination after dark. We arrived at Trompsburg after dark. It was a bit of a scurry to try and find the kitchen open at the one motel there to get dinner. A lot of stuff had already closed. They close early, those towns. We know that. As I say, we took our chances. But I'd say that although we started at 6 and we often arrived after dark, it's probably not the clever thing to do. Start as early as possible. Curfew obviously hampers you a bit. 4 o'clock start from many towns is the earliest you can go. But if one can go earlier, probably better from a logistical point of view. Get to your target town before it gets dark, when shops are still open. Get your supplies for the early start the next day. Get your accommodation sorted and get your meal, your evening meal. So we didn't quite do it how we should, but nevertheless we were having fun. And you don't necessarily have to bother about doing things right all the time. I guess take your chances. So that's just a bit on the logistics side. The traffic, really good. It was I think it's about the best route we can find to Cape Town, one of the best. The only part where there was a lot of traffic was about 10 k's on the tar into Ceres when we once again joined up with the road coming from Toes River. Quite a lot of traffic there, but you're on a mountain bike, I think or a gravel bike you'll be on, and there is a wide gravel section next to the tar, so you can go slower on the gravel section if you're worried about traffic, so that's not the end of the world. One does have to watch a little bit for some of the farming types and others on the dirt roads. Some of them come along at a hell of a speed, especially in the Great Karoo. They were motoring. At one part, a bucky did come over a rise, and I was on the right side of the road, fortunately. I heard him coming, but he didn't see me, obviously, until he got over the rise, and he got a fright and pushed his brakes and started skidding around, and it all could have gone horribly pear-shaped. So, if you hear a bucky coming, I think the best is still get on the left-hand side of the road as you would on a normal tar road. One can't be too cautious because some of them are coming along at a hell of a speed because there is no traffic and because they're used to riding on dirt roads for much of their lives. So just a bit of word of caution on there. But all in all, a fantastic ride. We've shown ourselves that in a week, you can take a week's leave, you can ride to Cape Town, not riding through the night, regularly, but getting up at a reasonable hour, starting at 6 o'clock, riding a good solid day. You've got to average above 200 k's, so it's not a relaxing day, but you can have a good sleep and you can have a good dinner wherever you're staying as well, and still get to Cape Town within the week. I think that's important. We had one logistical accommodation problem, and that's in the Great Karoo, a very long stretch between Sutherland and Ceres. And we got to Sutherland about lunchtime on the third last day, started phoning to see what we could find in the Great Karoo, couldn't find anything suitable. And what you do find is, if you can find something, it's normally self-catering, so you're going to have to carry your food down. So eventually we opted for an early sleep in Sutherland, woke up early and headed off hot-footed through the Great Karoo. In daylight hours, the Great Karoo farm stall is open. So you can get food, you can get a meal there, you can resupply with water. But at night, if you're going to go through the night, through the Tankwa, down the Blouberg Pass and through the Tankwa, you're probably going to have to take all your stuff with you and extra water too. In the daytime, the Tankwa Putstal and the odd farmhouse that you pass, you could probably ask for water at least, or get resupplies at the Tankwa farm stall. But that was a long stretch. And as I say, we didn't find decent accommodation down in the Tankwa. We need to do our homework there and look for something suitable and phone ahead for that. So we just did a long stint straight through past Ceres all the way to Wolseley. The curfew did hamper us on the final day. We got to Wolseley at about 6 in the evening, roughly just after 6 on the second last day. Without the curfew at midnight, it would have been feasible to ride all the way to Blouberg, finish at midnight and get picked up and dropped off where we have to get dropped off for our accommodation. That wasn't feasible because of the curfew. So that did come into play. It comes into play with the times you can start. On the first day, going past Windberg, I wouldn't go past through Bloemfontein in the middle of the night because of curfew, which previously we could do on the 1,000-mile race. So it does restrict one a bit. But anyway, we were there having fun, so it wasn't the end of the world. And lovely to see Ingrid when we got to Blouberg on a nice sunny Cape Town winter's day. And a fine time was had by all.
I'll show you coming around the corner. Woohoo! Come! Booga! Hello guys! Awesome! And we will see them coming around this corner. They're going really slowly up the hill. They're stopping off at a birthday party. Whoa! Well done! Well done! Words for Andy.
Hello, Uncle Andy. How are you? Lovely day here in Blouberg, hey? No little garden gnome to swear at us when we finish, unfortunately.
Paul, well done.
Andy. Did I get a sweaty
Yeah.
hug from you? How's life,
Well
man?
done, hey? Yeah, awesome, yeah.
Yeah.
Turn this off, yeah.